Hi, I'm Ryan with Corbin Manufacturing, and we have existed for 50 years to help precision bullet makers make their own bullets. So we are in the business of making the projectile itself. So when we're talking about bullets, we're talking about what's going to end up being fired out of the barrel of your gun and go towards your target. That is opposed to a full cartridge that is not only going to have your bullet, but it's going to have your brass and your primer and the powder inside. And because we work on just the bullet portion of this, that means we work with people that are shooting a firearm, which is your more traditional gun that is going to have a firing pin and shoot this full cartridge like you've seen. But also because we're just working with bullets, if you have an air rifle or an air gun, all you have to deal with is the projectile. So we specialize in that as well. And with our equipment, we've helped people form these bullets. And as you can see, when we have these different types, there's a much different look as to when you're shooting an air rifle, which typically is going to be formed lead into the shape that you're going for your bullet. And if you're shooting a firearm, you typically are going to have it in a copper coating, which is going to be called a jacket oftentimes. And the jacket is called that because very much like a jacket, it's going to go on the outside of the piece of lead. So we have the parts of this, which we would call the core. The core is going to be the lead internals. And then you're going to have the copper, which is going to serve as the jacket. And our equipment and dies help you put the core into the jacket and eventually form it into the finalized shape of a bullet. Now, once you have the bullet, if you're a firearms guy, you're going to need to put the bullet as part of an overall setup to make it a full cartridge. That process of putting together all the pieces of the brass and the bullet and the primer and the powder, that's called reloading. And with our equipment, you can also do the reloading setup as well. And our dies and punches are mostly there for the forming of the actual bullet. If you have an air rifle, most typically, because it's a lower velocity coming out of the gun, you're going to end up just having a lead bullet. And this type of lead bullet closely mirrors that you'd see with the firearm bullet. And when you see an air rifle bullet that looks like this, we would call this a slug. So when we're talking with the air rifle side of things, when we're mentioning a slug, it just means the bullet that's coming out of the air rifle. And this is opposed to what you might see oftentimes referred to as a pellet, which is going to have a different shape that doesn't closely mirror a firearm bullet. And so slugs are made on our presses, and bullets for firearms are made on our presses. And within each bullet, there are things you can add to the bullet to change how it's going to fly through the air. It's going to change how it impacts the target. And those are things like putting a different tip on the bullet, whether it's a polymer tip, whether you have exposed lead on there, or whether you have the jacket closed as much as possible on the end of it. All of that is going to be your preference with how it flies, how it goes through the air, how it's going to hit the target at the end of it. Same thing with your air rifle. When you have a slug that you're making, or any bullet that you're going to make for your air rifle, you may choose to put a hollow point on top, which just means this indentation that has a hollowed out portion on the nose of your bullet. You can choose that to be a smooth nose shape that doesn't have the hollow point indentation. And you're gonna, on both of them, choose what your base is gonna look like. And the base is what it sounds like. It's the bottom of your bullet that can either have an indentation of sorts, it can be flat, or you can have ones that actually stick out in certain fashions. We have ones that's called a rebated boat tail that sticks out on the back of the bullet. And all of those are preference for how you want the bullet to fly through the air. And all of those are going to be done through a die. So anytime you are shopping at Corbin Manufacturing, you're going to be posed with the question of whether you want an S die or whether you want an H die. And all that means is which press that die is going to be compatible with. So the S die, as you can see, is much smaller. This is going to be compatible with our S-type press. And it will fit the threads of your S press, and it's going to form generally smaller caliber bullets than what the H die is capable of forming. So when you see the H type die, An H-type die will only fit on an H-type press. That is going to be the Megamite press, that's a hand press, or it's going to fit on the hydraulic press, which is our most powerful option. If you choose to start with our S-type dies, which is our most common dies, we have conversion kits for you to be able to use anything you buy on the S-type dies to work on any of our H-type presses. However, it does not work in reverse. If you have an H-type die, those will only work on H-type presses because they're the larger size. So we encourage people, if you think you're gonna have an application where you're gonna be making larger runs of bullets, or things where you need to draw jackets through the swaging process, or things that are gonna require more force, we always encourage you to go with an H-type die that is gonna allow you to not only transition from our Megamite hand press, but into our hydraulic presses once your business grows. If you're a hobbyist looking to get more self-reliant with still the same precision as our other dies, the S-type die is always going to be an option. It's our most economical option. You can make almost every bullet that you're going to have a hobbyist shoot with the S-type die and our S-type press. And we feel confident that once you're using our S-type dies, if you need to move up to the next thing, that we're going to get you a conversion kit that's going to allow it that everything you use on the S-type dies can get transferred over. So if you are on our press and feel confused about the options, almost everything that's offered for the S-type die is also offered on the H-type die. But once you go up to the H-type die, you have all these new capabilities that not only are you going to be able to form air rifle ammo like this slug here, but you can do higher caliber jacketed bullets for your firearms. And you can also go through the process of start making your own jackets to fit the core in to make your eventual firearm bullet. So the force required to do this, the H presses can handle it with ease, and whether that be on our Megamite press or our hydraulic press. So if you are looking to create precision and up your bullet game, look no further than Corbin Manufacturing.